I don't even say a word, and the second I click onto the camera, he comes up. Gee, go figure, huh? Isn't that right, little buddy? Huh? Isn't that right, little buddy? Yeah. Well, in case you're wondering why I'm so happy, go. Velcro kitty, let go. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to put you down on the ground for right now. Anyway, those who are wondering why I'm so happy, Titans of Legend made it. Anyway, once again, for those who are watching on YouTube after the fact, don't forget down here, like and subscribe, and bell icon, and Carlton. Ugh. And any cubic photon is awesome. I started early today, and that's cut. That's because I'm really happy, and apparently my Carlton is happy when I'm happy. Anyway, you also may have noticed I kind of like shaved. Yes. Yes, I love you, Fuzzbutt, but I'm going to put you down because I got to do this. I got to broadcast. And little furball, let me put you down. No. Okay, so like I was saying, the Titans of Legend succeeded. Barely. Squeaked by. Oh. Which means that I will do some further giants. And in fact, tonight, I'm going to do a giant. That's why I'm starting a little bit early. Because I don't know if it'll take me only 2 hours or if it'll take me a lot longer, because I'm making a Cyclops. Not as massive as, well, you can barely see his club right here. Not as massive as Polyphemus, a standard sized, about 11-foot giant. No, it has to be taller than 12 foot, so about 13-foot giant. And, so yeah. And he's not going to be holding a club, he's going to be holding a rock. Blink, blink. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get started a little bit earlier than usual in the actual sculpting. So, we're going to come over to here. This is my default base figure. Yeah, there he is. Next to him is a measuring stick. And it measures really tall. Alright. Every larger peg, or disc, is roughly every 5 feet. Every smaller one is roughly a foot in comparison. So you see he goes to number 6, so he's 6 foot tall. So we need to go up to here. Well, we're going to get part of that simply by doing this. That gets us up to about 9.5 feet. Then we're going to go, let's drop him down a little bit because we don't need him quite as ogreish. Yeah. Then we're going to just go ahead and go straight to scale. Start increasing the scale until he's roughly about there. That gives us our 13-foot tall Cyclops. But wait, you say. He's got 2 eyes. We'll take care of that in the sculpting. Same way I handled it with Polyphemus. So what we're going to do now, we're going to determine what is he going to be wearing. And I'm thinking, let's just go ahead and give him just the basic tunic skirt. And then in his left arm, it's going to be looking like an orb but we're going to be turning it into a rock. A big old rock for him to throw. Okay. Now, next we got to determine pose. What pose will he be striking? Is he going to be getting ready to throw it at somebody? Yeah, he's going to be either throwing or threatening to throw it at a human. So that'd be right foot forward. So let's go ahead and hide our tunic skirt. Select the hip. Now, this means he's going to be facing kind of that direction. But he's going to be kind of leaning back a little, so I'm going to bend. I'm going to twist just a little bit. Side to side. Okay, now I'm going to twist the shin and then straighten up that foot. A little bit more. Yeah. Now, just for the sake of getting that foot off the ground so we can drop him here. D. Okay. We need to bring that leg to there. No. Control D. Front view. And let's zoom in on... Oh, hold on. Expand from selected. B. There we go. Right foot. Excuse me! Alright, so, and then right view. First thing we're going to do, let's turn this on so we can do it a little bit more accurately. It's side to side. And then from the front view, bend it up a little. And then we hit Control D again. Let's bend the toe up a little bit. Just a little. B, drop. Okay, now we go back to perspective. And this thigh is actually not going to be very bent. We're going to bend the foot back. Or bend the leg back. Okay, let's rotate the foot there. Okay, as we can see, it's a little bit too high. So what we're going to do... There we go. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn off side to side on that shin. And we're going to lock the hip. Translation and rotation. And then go to that tool so we can just simply drag the foot down. Okay, perspective view. So, with this, he's actually going to kind of do that because he's getting ready to threaten to chunk it down. So we'll select the abdomen. We will bend it forward a little. Twist a little bit more. Side to side. Actually, no, the abdomen needs to go back a little bit more. So that most of the bending and all that comes from the chest. And then, now a little bit more this way. You never want the shoulders and the hips parallel to the ground. Now we're going to raise the shoulder Make it go back just a little. Raise up the arm and twist it that way. Then and twist. Okay, now, oh no, I don't want the jaw, I want the neck. I'm going to twist at the neck, bend back a little and side to side just a little. Then from the head we're going to bend down, side to side that way. Okay. Now the other hand. We have most of it ready except for the offhand. Actually, we can go ahead and bring his belly just a little bit forward because he's not quite balanced. There we go. Alright, and what we're going to do is this hand, it's going to come up a little at the shoulder. Not a lot, just a little. And go back just a little, and then the forearm is going to bend like this, but it's going to then rotate. No, forearm going to rotate like that, bend the arm, bend the hand in a little, and then we're going to curl the fingers just a bit and curl the thumb just a bit. Let me make sure I'm going in the right direction here. Yeah. Not a lot, just a bit. There we go. This is going to be the base for our Cyclops. Yeah, TJ, the finger point needs to be somebody with a club, not somebody holding the rock. Okay, now we're going to give him a bit of expression. So what's going to happen, his jaw is going to be slightly tilted, but then closed. And a little bit further out to make that lip just a bit exaggerated. He doesn't look happy. Now, because we're going to be erasing all of this to make the new eye, we're not going to bother with the eyebrow expression. So let's zoom out. Once again, we got to hide the orb that will be a rock. And just to show you, we started out at 13 feet, if you remember. After we put him into his pose, he's barely more than 12. Because he's kind of crouched back and down. So he's lost a couple feet. Lost about a foot. Alright, so that's the Cyclops body. And we're going to pre-sculpt minis, broadcast miniatures, new folder. Oops. Cyclops. Oops. Now let's cut that and move it into the new folder. Yeah, there we go. That's where it's supposed to be. Cyclops. And this is going to be Psych Body. Except Hide him. Make the tunic visible. File, export, psych, tunic, accept, hide the skirt, make the rock visible. File, export, psych, rock. Now we need a base. The thing is, this guy here won't use a regular base, because the regular bases aren't the size for him. So what we got to do is, I've actually made bases that were size huge, but they're in my old in storage, 3D printing, Titans of Legend. And let's go ahead and just do a huge base cracked earth, like a Badlands type. Okay, because these guys are supposed to be size huge. Alright, now you bring it down to where it's slightly overlapping the feet. We're going to go to a top view. We're going to move it so that he's still pretty much centered, but it's not. It's, yeah, perspective view. Okay, that's his base. Well, actually, we need to come this way a little bit more. There we go. Alright, now we're going to hide him. File, export, psych, base. I have not released my size huge bases yet. So, now what I'm going to do with this, the base is going to be a separate file from the body, from the main critter. Okay? Now give me just a second. I got a message from someone. I'm not sure who. Oh, okay. Anyway, let me go ahead and pop into ZBrush. Actually, I need to do one other thing. I appear to have forgotten to switch accounts to the actual account. Oops. And that's going to be change quality to there. 720p. Alright, ZBrush is open. And let's... Hey, it worked this time. Now we're going to import from Free Sculpt Minis, Broadcast, New, Cyclops, Psych Body. Edit. Now we're going to append a subtool. Import Psych Tunic. Append subtool and import the rock. And append polymesh and import the base. Okay. Now, we're going to turn everything off except the rock. We're going to start with Dwayne Johnson. Or not. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to subdivide it smooth and dynamesh it at 128. And then subdivide it again. We're going to zoom out. Get this ready. The mesh we're going to use is actually found under the light box. Under Brush, Mallet, Mallet Fast. We're going to shrink it a bit. And we're just going to start. No. Yeah, that's what we need. Okay, but we need it bigger and we need it a little bit stronger. Okay, so we're going to make it stronger, make it bigger. Now just to make sure that we've got it, that shrunk it a bit, so we got to make sure that it's still fitting right in the hand, and it is. And that's all we really needed to do for that rock. One thing we can do is go ahead and use the planer or the polish tool, also very large and high intensity, and grab that side right, oh, subtract that side right there, that plane, and do that. Flatten out one entire portion of it. Then we go back to light box brush, and I have a, where is it? Standard, slice, smooth, stitch, tracks, curves, deco, clay, green form, misc, noise, move, or planar pen patterns. Where is it? I had a series of stone brushes. I can't find them. Where did I put them? Where were they under? They weren't under patterns. No, they weren't under patterns. Clay, deco, displace, flatten, form, groom, insert, layer, mallet, miscellaneous. No. Morph, move, orb. Was there? Yeah, that's where it was. Rock noise. That's to give it just a little bit more rocky feel to it. Then we shrink it and we go to sub to make this side look like it was broken off. You know, it's a fresher chunk. And lo, he's holding a pretty decent looking rock. Okay, that's good enough. We're going to hide the rock. We don't need to touch it again until it's time to actually be working on his finalities. Alright, next thing we got to do, we're going to move. We're going to turn that on so that it remembers brush sizes. We're going to pull out the belly. Pull out the belly. Push it in here and here. And then in the back, we're going to pull it out from here and pull it up quite a bit here. Then we're going to shrink the mouse and, you know, blend in the top ends so that it can blend better. Okay, now we're going to subdivide it quite a bit. And then we're going back to him because there's some things we need to do to his head before we get into ultra high res. Actually, we need to smooth him out, and then we're going to need to dynamesh him at 512. And the whole eye and nose area needs to be smoothed out, and a brand new eye and nose area be sculpted in. Now the thing is, I'm also going to do the ears, because those ears kind of need work. Those are good for miniatures, but not so much for giants. So just smooth that, and then erase out the eye. It's easier when it's lower poly like this. And then kind of smooth out that. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and take the slash tool, stroke, lazy mouse, turn off lazy mouse, shrink it down, and shrink the mouse down. And we're going to make sure that we emphasize. Oh, let me get to where I can see all of it. Yeah, there we go. Make sure we can emphasize the mouth. Okay. So now what's going to happen, we're going to use inflate at a negative value to draw on where the eye will be, the eye socket. It's going to be a pretty nice sized eye. Okay, and then add. We're going to use add to draw on both cheekbones, because the cheekbones will be different structured than in a standard head shape. And then smooth it just a bit. Let's turn the smooth down so I can just have a little bit more control. Smooth that just a bit. I'm going to add a bit here. Okay, and then we're going to kind of smooth in where the eye itself is, because we're going to come in and we're going to draw out the actual eye. Make the mouse a little bit bigger to make the brow a bit easier to draw in. Also going to emphasize the cheek a little bit more. And then going to make the bottom of this jaw a little bit thicker, so that the lips are canted but not the bone of the jaw. Then give him an actual good jawline. A little bit of smoothing, just to even it out, make it not quite as inflated. Okay, now with the move tool, we're going to shrink it back down to about there. We're going to grab this whole section and move it in. And the same thing over here. We want more of a square jaw than the round jaw that we had for the ogre. Okay. Now I'm going to use the slash tool. Make it a little bit bigger. We're going to outline the eye. Then we're going to use the... Yeah. Mom's trying to call and she keeps hanging up before I pick up. Yes, I have a funny... We're going to shrink it and decrease the intensity, and we're going to draw on the eyelid. No, it's not a good spot for the eyelid. Let's try subdividing it first. Okay, let's dig that in a little bit deeper. Alright, so now we're going to draw around the eye. And here around the eye. To kind of emphasize. Now we're going to go back to inflate. You're going to shrink down the intensity. And we're going to bring the eye out a bit. And thus we have our Cyclops head, but now we need to do the ears. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to go ahead, we're going to use inflate first to make the outside of the ear, as well as to kind of give it some earlobe presence. We're going to emphasize this part right here because that's the top of the ear. We're going to need a good bit of presence there, a good bit of mass, and then we're going to bring it down. And once again, we're going to inflate the bottom of the earlobe to give it a presence. Okay. And then a little bit of move just to shape it how I want it to shape. I don't want it necessarily pointed like it is right now. I want it a bit more round, a little bit more flappy. Okay, and then we're going to flatten that. Okay, now we're going to go for the slash tool. Unsubtract 15 and make it a little bit bigger. We're going to come in from about here and get really strong under here and go up like that. Because that's a little depression inside the ear. Although that one, I think, didn't go high enough. Yeah. We need to come up. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to subtract, or inflate, but we're going to go negative and a little bit stronger than what we've been doing and a little bit smaller. And we're going to kind of just very gently kind of pull this under here. And then we're going to smooth out here a little bit of shaping here, and then we have an ear. Going to do that over here. Start with a kind of a deep hole on this side. Lightly over. A deep hole over here. Then smooth out here and here. Do a little faint there. And there we have our expression. From here on out, it's going to, most of the detailing is going to be musculature, because he's not going to be wearing much more than the skirt, which will be fur. And now that we've done that, we can go ahead and merge down, always okay. And we're going to Dynamesh at 1024. Okay, now shrink the mouse a bit, and at full, using the mouse so we get full power, smooth this out. Because I'm going to do something with this similar to what I did on Tuesday with the Orc Shaman, but I'm not going to make the mistake I made of waiting until after I had blended it before I pulled down the top. Okay, frame out. Okay. And thank you, Kim. Oh, it's pretty irregular. It's got a very rough. Yeah. That looks like a rock to me, not a gemstone. Alright, so now I'm going to hide the hand and forearm. And upper arm here, so I can place what's going to be the top rim of his kilt. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to start off by doing just a basic waist area. You know, logging it on and just doing it pretty quickly because we don't need a lot of detail yet, because that's coming in just a moment. Okay, now excuse me, we're going to load in an alpha. We're going to load in this alpha. I'm going to make it bigger, just to kind of make it irregular. Well, yeah, if you notice, if you do what I just did and tap instead of draw on a mask, it will blur the mask. Now, I'm going to hold down Control and Alt and subtract just to get a nice, again, more erratic shape. Okay, frame. Now, we're going to turn off the alpha. And under subtool, we're going to extract at 0.02. Actually, 0.015. We're not doing double. The reason for that is that this will be bent down from the top before we do anything else. Alright, now one thing we do need to do, there were a couple, because of the way we did that, there were a couple random pebbly bits that aren't one piece. So we're going to go to polygroups, auto groups. Let's go ahead and make our main body invisible real quick for handling this. And what we're going to do is we're going to select this. And you see there's a couple bits and pieces. Now we go to visibility and hide points. It hides all the unselected points. Go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. There. That got rid of all the extras. Everything that's now up there is physically connected. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to Dynamesh at 128. No, 256. That simplifies our outline and gives us stuff to work with. Now we're going to move. And the first thing is we're going to just start kind of moving this down. From up here, so moving, we're going to move it out just a little bit, not so much down as out. And we're going to also kind of inflate some of the areas that go out like this. Okay, now we go to inflate, turn that down, intensity down a bit, and we're just going to kind of, whoa, that's right, I had it on subtract, I need it on add. It's going to kind of just make it thicker so that it'll print better. Yeah, and that includes here. So now another thing I'm going to do is some of these areas that I didn't pull down after I subdivide, well, let's go ahead and lower intensity first, and let's get rid of down below with our move tool. Because it's going to end up being blended into the body. And then we'll draw on a rope belt. But not until after I've finished doing what I'm doing. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take that subdivision and delete lower. We're then going to go to some of these areas where I didn't go all the way down. And I'm going to mask a bit. This one's a good one. Kind of the larger areas more than anything else. These are going to be areas that that have kind of folded down over the rope belt. Or over themselves. That's not going to be, that's a tear. Over here will be. It's going to kind of come down kind of low. And here. Okay. And then we're going to extract those. Now the thing is, we are going to dynamesh them at 256. But we're going to leave it at that until after we do the belt, and in fact we're going to turn it off. Make it not visible. We draw here to get rid of that masking, and then we draw here to make sure it's gotten rid of that one. We're going to merge down. Oh, that's right, we got to do that. Now we're going to merge down. And dynamesh it. Now, let's actually use a little bit larger. Yeah, let's smooth out this area here. Come around and smooth out this area here. And come around to here and smooth this out. Now, we're going to put on the rope belt. So we're going to the rope tool. We're going to shrink it. We shrink the mouse. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to start here. I'm going to start drawing on the rope. And that's too big, so we're going to shrink it down. There we go. And now, continue it around, trying to stay up close to those areas where we added the extra bits. Oh! That was an accident. Okay, now we got to be kind of careful here. Make sure we don't go up. Okay, good, we didn't. And there. Okay. Now we're going to split unmasked parts. Now, the right here is where the knot's supposed to be. I'm going to hide that because we need to then go ahead and split unmasked parts. Right. And then draw the other one coming like that. And now we have our rope belt ready for its knot. And we're going to merge it into one. So merge down, down. Now when we go to the knot, that knot defaults to pretty deep, so we're going to put the knot on the actual rope. And we're going to draw it until the rope is roughly the same size. Okay. There we go. Rope belt with a rather nasty knot. And now we make these come over the belt. We're going to do that with the move tool. I'm going to grab it and kind of pull it over the rope. And then we're going to grab the bottom and kind of pull it up a bit. We're also going, let's shrink this a bit for a second and smooth out that. There we go. And once again, it's sections of the torn thingy. Let me go ahead and hide that hand and arm again. It's easier to see and maneuver the torn bits. The torn bits will look more part of it after we get the whole thing blended into the. So we're going to pull the top of this down a little bit. Okay, that's good enough. Now let's geometry, subdivide it a couple times. One more. And move it up. Now merge down. Oh yeah. Merge down. Draw that so that they blend in. Okay. Now, right now, the rock looks a lot better than the Cyclops. The Cyclops is just a basic meaty shape right now. We need to refine that. Well, he's wearing basically shredded leathers that he's sewn together. Or had someone sew for him on threat of death.
You art no sew? No, me no sew. Oh, then you sew. No, me no sew. Oh, you know so. No, me no sew. Oh.
Don't ask why that strange thing just popped into my head. But yeah. And see, things like giants and orcs are part of the reason why I really hate the concept of racial languages. You know? Think about it. Ogres and Cyclops speak giant. Orcs speak orcish. And yet orcs are frequently enslaved by giants and ogres and things like that. So, unless we have multilingual orcs, how? Gotta pull down here because we have that problem with the way the rigging affects the underarm area. Let's build up a lot. He's going to be muscular despite having all that body weight, because they do need to be intimidating and scary. Okay. And then we're going to just make this bigger just for this. And we're going to kind of try and make it look like his belly's being held in place by the rope. Now, one thing about Cyclops, of all the Giantkin in the 5th edition Monster Manual, they're the only ones that don't have their height listed. Yeah, I mean, the Hill Giant has their height listed. The Storm Giant, all the true giants. The ogres, you know, but the Cyclops don't. So I just assumed they're as bare minimum as you can be and still be considered size huge. Because, you know, they're size huge. But they'd be smaller than the Hill Giants, because Hill Giants are stronger than they are. Okay, building up that muscle here. And now another thing is adding the 3 lobes to the deltoid. And we're going to shrink it a little bit and further refine that deltoid right here. Okay. Hide the rock a little bit easier. And then we're going to draw in the pectoral. Once again, he might have some tub, but he's got some muscle too. So center. And then the bicep. After we get done with this, with the using the clay buildup tool. We're going to go back in and tighten up some of the borders between the muscles with the inflate tool. There we go. Not inflate, with the slash tool. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then there's like a little bit coming in from the back. And add on elbows. Smooth that out. And then start adding on the forearm muscles. And smooth him out a little bit so he doesn't quite turn into Popeye. And another one coming this way. And smooth that out. And then one from underneath. Okay, and then let's smooth this just so that we can, yeah, okay, and then a little bit on this side. There are multiple muscles down this path. As you can see, it's starting to be a bit more intimidating now. It's got the muscles. Or they're building up the muscles. Now, adding up that elbow there. And once again, we're going to the forearm. Moving over and doing this forearm muscle. Now, let's go over this to reduce the Popeye effect. Yeah. And increase this. Okay. There we go. Now let's increase those lats because we need them a little bit bigger. Smooth that. And here. Need to bulge a bit more. Okay. And there we go. Now let's do the legs. Actually, do we want to? Do we want to give him shoes or rough things wrapped around his feet? Or do we want to give him bare feet? We need to decide that before we start working on them. So until we do that, we're going to turn on transparency so we can start adding in the wrinkles for the clothing. Alright, so from this hip hanging in front to that hip. No, let's zoom out because I'm too close. Actually, let's turn up the lazy mouse radius. Let's also turn down the intensity and make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to come from here onto there. And then then we're going to do it over here now. Okay. Let's just, again, to make it easy, let's just go ahead and turn that off. That was to give us an idea where the belt was when we were doing this. And let's go to slash. We're starting off, we're going to make these about the same size, make this about the same size as the wrinkles. We're going to go under the wrinkles. Especially, whoop. Especially deep under the wrinkles. And I gotta stop these hiccups. Down, doobie doobie down, 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 doobie down, 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 down. Whoa, 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 whoa. And now we're going to smooth over them a little because they all got a little deeper than I expected and not as even. We're going to do it on the back. We're going to do what we're going to do on the side. And we're going to do it on the back, especially up here near the top. I'm going to come over up here near the top and pass down each one of these. And then over here. Okay, that's good enough. Now we're going to add, we're dropping this down to 8. And we're actually going to make it a little bit bigger. Actually drop it down to 7. We're just going to come, well, first, let's turn lazy mouse back on, give it a decent step. That means we can increase the intensity a bit more. And we're just going to draw along the underside of the wrinkles. Okay, that's still too low, so let's bring this up to there. That's too high, so let's bring it down to there. And what we're doing is we're giving a wrinkles actually help painters. They give some place for visible interest. They also catch a wash in the gaps between and catch a dry brush on the ridges on top. So clothing wrinkles are always good for painting, at least for the basic tiers. Higher tier painters will often do very careful blends on large cloth areas that are better for large, smooth expanses of cloth. The wrinkles aren't quite as good for them. But they're not going to complain about a detailed area. Okay. We have the waistcloth done. We have the head done. We still need to do the hands, and we need to do the legs and feet. Oh, I just thought of something we can do. We can add in the belly button, and also add in with inflate and a very small draw size no, it doesn't work. What we do is we use layer. No. High intensity, and then hit with the smooth. And hit with the smooth. And then we go back to inflate. We shrink it a little bit. And bring that focal shift over and shrink it a little bit more and make it a little bit more intense. And then we smooth it. Yeah, there we go. Now, have y'all decided if you want bare feet or foot wraps, or am I going to have to go ahead and just go on the hand? Okay, bare feet. Bare feet seems to be the big. Okay, so what I'm going to do, first things first, I'm going to go back to the standard brush just for the sake of having a moderate size I can play around with, and I'm going to smooth out the entirety of the bottom of the feet. Then I'm going to tap 1 a couple times until it's a bit more rounded. Okay, that's not too bad. Still needs a little bit more along the side. Oh, don't do that. Yeah, there we go. A little bit more around the sides. Because we don't want those hard edges. Those hard edges are good for soles, bad for feet.
Yeah, because when you've got a hard-edged sole, you got bad feet.
Okay. Now when you compare the 2 feet, looks like it'd be a lot easier to turn the one over here into a barefoot than the one over here. Also, just to make sure, it's still making full contact with the base. Okay. Now we're going to do the other foot. Starting off with the whole smoothing of the edges. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And a little bit more. Let's shrink this. A little bit more along the inner edge of the foot. Okay. That'll do for this. Now, we're going to go to directly underfoot, literally. We're going to go to the Move tool. The reason being, we're going to make this a little bit wider, because we're going to make those foot a little bit splayed. And then we're going to kind of pull in there. Okay. That gives us room to draw on our toesies. I'm going to use slash to do the initial separations. Make sure that we've got that off. 16. Alright, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to give him 1. That's for the big toe. And then there's got to be 3 more. So we're going to draw 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. It doesn't, no. There, and then, no. There. We're going to come back in and detail those. That's just for, oh, wow. Yeah, that's just for measuring their placement. Okay. Now we're going to handle the toes first with inflate, like I did with the orc last night. Tuesday. I'm going to give it some toe on each one of these. And then we're going to kind of pull this out, the big toe especially. And blend it over on the side and at the back. Actually, no, we don't need to use inflate. What we're going to use is because of how it handled that toe, we're going to use clay buildup, but we're going to turn on auto masking back face mask. Okay. Now. Okay. Oh, let's turn off Lazy Mouse. And let's turn this down a bit. I'll cut that out. And we're going to shrink the mouse. Okay, so. And then smooth it. No, it looks like we are going to have to use inflate after all, but smaller. Yeah, and then out a little bit more, and then smooth out, and with the smoothing, shrink the pinky toe. And just a little bit passing over each toe. And then let's inflate here, because we're going to do at least the basics of the toenails after we do our next Dynamesh. Okay, smooth it, and then we're gonna actually. Okay. Sometimes it's a very trial and error process. And very often it's emphasis on the error. And then just smooth out the tops of these toes. And just very light dusting over top of them with the smooth brush to smooth them out. And then here, add in our toesies. Because the big toe is the important one. It's a common myth that at the pinky toe you have to have, or you have problems with balance. No, that's a myth. It's just simply you have to have a majority of your toes to have decent balance, or have at least the big toe. The bit about the pinky toe is just entirely just for some way to try and explain why do we even still have them, as degenerate as they are. Yes, your pinky toes are often seen going behind the green door. And if you don't know what that means, you're too young to know what that means. Don't look it up. And it has nothing to do with a song from 1954. I'll say that. Okay, we got our footsies and our toesies. Next step is we're going to go ahead, go back to clay buildup and get some soda. And we're going to do the leg muscles. Okay. Zoom in. Need to have this a little bit bigger. Leg muscles and knees. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever actually, examined your kneecap. They tend to be trapezoidal. They're often drawn as almost square or rectangle in comics, for example, but they're more trapezoidal. And then let's zoom over that, and then you have your... Okay, first of all, yeah. Let's turn the intensity down a little. Yeah. And then it kind of fades in. Yeah. Then you have this muscle here. Goes up. A muscle kind of coming from the center that goes down under and attaches underneath the kneecap, and then here we're going to add in this tendon and this one. Once again, going to smooth this just a little bit, especially up here, because it doesn't really connect. It's more fatty tissue down here. And there's the joint of the knee bony structure right there. And inner muscles of the leg coming in this way. You smooth it out. Okay. And then a longer, narrower muscle on the outside of the calf. We're going to smooth that out, and then we need to kind of pull that a bit. Okay, then we're going to add in the ankle over here and smooth it out, and the ankle up here and then smooth it out. Then we're going to kind of add in the back of the heel. And smooth that out. Okay, now this knee is not going to have as much the shin. Okay. Then we're going to kind of pull down here. And come here. So the inside calf muscle is the sharper and wider, not as long. Let's hide the other leg so we can draw this one better. And then we're going to smooth it. And this one is the longer and narrower muscle. We're going to smooth that. We've got to kind of bring it in here. Now, yes, he is a little bit more comic book anatomy than real world anatomy, but he's a giant. We can get away with that. Now, one thing about the ankle is that the outer ankle is lower than the inner ankle. Okay. He's looking pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and add a little bit more detail to the feet. We're going to be using the inflate brush for this. And we're actually going to turn on lazy mouse because we want these to be relatively straight lines. And we're going to basically come in and draw in the tendons. Oh, too wide. We're going to smooth out above in just a minute. And I'm going to do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then turning off lazy mouse, making it a little bit bigger. We're actually going to kind of draw on... Oh, it's way too big. And reduce its intensity. Still too strong. Draw on where the knuckles are, or the toe knuckles. Let's smooth out that toe. And then we're going to smooth out where they meet the ankle. Okay. Toe knuckles. And a little bit of just a little bit of smoothing. And then we're going to smooth out where they fade into the ligaments around the ankle. Now the next thing is we got to do the hands. The first thing we're going to do is the wrist bones. Right about here. And here. And smooth it a little bit. Now, that doesn't work because unlike the ankle, the wrist bones tend to be roughly even in position. Not perfectly so, but close enough for government work. And as I no longer am an employee of the United States government, I am allowed to say that. And we're going to do wrist bone there and then smooth it out. And then wrist bone here and smooth it out. Okay, now we're going to shrink the mouse to about the size of the fingers and do our usual hand techniques. Whoop. Too big. And we're going to shrink a mouse again and use a thinner mouse to kind of go over the knuckle areas just to straighten them out a bit. Now it is 8:45. I started about half an hour, 45 minutes early because I felt like it. Which means we have plenty of time to get some further detail on here, like these tendons. And then smooth out the place where they just fade away on the arm. Now, under normal circumstances, I would be going ahead and detailing this palm, but that palm is covered up by a rock. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to kind of inflate down here. And then add on the thumb knuckle. And smooth out there and there. Okay. Now we're going to zoom in. We're going to do knuckles here, 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 and here. And then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. No, yeah, there we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then come in and smooth out, straighten out those fingers between the knuckles and after the knuckles. And with the hands, like with the mouse here, I draw on the individual tendons, even though technically the last two are actually attached to each other. Okay. I'm gonna hide that, 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 and that. And then that. Okay. So I can then turn off the rope and get to the inner hand here. Oh, let's hide the... Alright, the inner calf is actually doing pretty decent. The problem is, this hand is very thick. Because that's a hand intended for a human print. So we're going to use the move tool, shrink it down, and we're going to kind of grab it at the palm, shrink it until we can see that it's not too close, and then bring it in that way. And then we're going to do the same thing for down here. Then we're going to smooth it. Smooth that palm quite a bit. And then, alright, now The only thing we're going to do from here with inflate is we're going to make it a lot bigger and a lot weaker. We're going to inflate right at the base of the thumb. We're going to inflate down here at the base of the palm. We're going to make it smaller and a little bit stronger and pull it across the meat here of the hand. Then we're going to kind of draw in here where the inner hand tendons will be. And we can go ahead and, while I'm thinking about it, add it to this one too, especially since these ones are distended. Okay. Now we need to add the thumb knuckle. So I'm going to add it here. And here. Then kind of add a little bit up this way. Frame visible. Okay. We have pretty much the whole thing actually designed, but we still need to refine some of the detailing. Bye, Kim. Mark, this is not for the Kickstarter. This is in celebration of the Kickstarter. So anyway, we're going to go to slash. We're going to turn the intensity down quite a bit, but increase it really big, because we're going to add some refinement to the muscles, like right underneath the arm here. And then smooth that and bring it a bit more this way. Hide that so we can do the underarm here. There. Then there's going to be a bit here. A bit here. Like I said, what we're doing is basically just refining the shapes that we made with the clay buildup brush. Make them look impressive and intimidating at the same time. Just a little bit down this way, a little bit underneath the shoulder blade, and then we're going to blend that in right here. Yeah. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going back to our inflate because we're going to go ahead and add in those neck muscles. Comes from underneath the there, goes down to there. And down here. And then it's going to have a nice little large Adam's apple. And then back to our slash, so we can draw down the side of those muscles to emphasize the neck. Now we're not going to do it to the legs, because the legs will be a little bit more fatty. But what we're going to do now is, now that we've got all this in position, we're going to re-Dynamesh. The reason for this is for the toes and the fingertips, we're going to make our nails. So we get divide. We're going to smooth the toes just a little bit because they got angled. Now we're going to go with our slash tool. We're going to go ahead and redo the separation of these couple toes. Because they kind of blended apart, or not blended, but they kind of softened the separation. That one's good. Okay, now what we're going to do for the toenails, we're just going to kind of draw on little pebbles. Now this is going to be a detail that's lost on a lot of FDM printers. But this toenail, the big toenail, won't be. We're going to dig it around and come back this way. We're going to come under, and then we're going to hit Alt and very carefully go above. Then smooth it a little. We have a big toenail. It's kind of ragged and kind of choppy looking. And once again, we're going to draw on little pebbles. Oh, let me zoom in. We're going to draw on little pebbles on each of the toes to represent the toenails. And then come under, and then come over, and then smooth it a little until it's not interpenetrating, and we got another big old toenail. Now we can do the same thing to the fingers, because we finally have fingers large enough for it. But we're also going to go ahead and reinforce the separation of the fingers. Okay, now, just going to kind of draw in our little pebbles on the fingertips. We want these to be about half of the joint, if not a little bit less. And we're going to do it on the thumb too. But with the thumb, we're going to do the same thing we did to the big toe. We're going to give it a very faint little sharpening on the edge. Okay. And now we're going to come back up to here. Draw on the thumbnail. And give it that little faint sharpening on the front. And then come around to the fingers, reinforce their separation. and then draw in a little pebbles. They're not fruity pebbles, thank God. That would be kind of revolting if that's where fruity pebbles came from. Did you know you're eating Cyclops fingernails? Okay. And once again, reinforce the separation of the fingers at the tips. Okay. That hand is pretty much done, in all honesty. The other hand still has some work to do on the inside of the palm. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to do to do this easier, we're going to hide the hand and everything part of it. Frame out, zoom out, select. Now only the hand is unmasked. We're then going to masking and invert, visibility, hide points. Then we're going to hide the rope and the rock. So we have our hand clearly visible now. And what we need to do is first we need to reinforce the separation of the fingers. We come in from down here and just loop back to there. And that way for that one, and then back this way for this one. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in a little bit of a groove. The base, we're also going to add in wrinkles underneath the knuckles. And then we're going to make the mouse a little bit bigger and a lot softer. We're going to draw in our infamous the lines of the palm. We're also going to kind of put a little divider down the center of those tendons. Okay, now the hands are done. Let's look to make sure that there's nothing we have to redo on the head. Okay, we're going to redo the mouth a little bit. Shrink it down, increase the intensity, and right here we're going to come along and go down that way. Then we're going to hit it. Yeah, there we go. Now we're going to use inflate, shrink it down. We're going to emphasize this lip. Oh, we need it facing more forward. Yeah, there we go. And then we go and smooth out this part. Okay. Now, here is our new Cyclops. Now, just to give you an idea on scale, I'm going to go ahead and load in Polyphemus. No. That's under Titans of Legend. Oh no, it's not. It's back up here. Polyphemus full figure. Now let's rotate Oh, stop that. What? And then offset X. As you can see, Polyphemus is a lot bigger than a regular Cyclops. Anyway, here we have our regular Cyclops. Is there anything anyone wants me to add to him that you can think of? A teddy bear hanging on his belt. Which hip? Left or right? And are you serious or not? Oh, he does need a pouch, though. I'm going to put it right there, a nice blank empty spot. So we go back to insert belt stuff. He's got a bag. We're going to put it on the there, so no. Now let's split unmasked parts, points. And now we're going to grab the move tool, make it bigger, and we're going to move him, oh, transparency, we're going to move the forward a little bit. Then we're going to grab the rope and shrink down the move tool, and with transparency on again, I'm going to pull it forward, but only in front of the bag, so that it starts poking through the bag, and we can then pull it out just a little bit more. Okay, now the bag, we're going to smooth it a couple times. And we're going to use slash to give it some detailing. Okay, we're going to start over here. We're going to kind of be wrinkly. Oh, let me turn on transparency. And kind of pull up like that. Yeah. Okay. Then we're going to add at a much lower level, again, to give something for brushes to catch when dry brushing. Now, the only thing left that I can think of to do is to add some things like seams and that to the clothing. Okay. Any scars he'd have would be on the legs. I'm hesitant about doing that because what looks like a scar to one person looks like a crack in the model to someone else. How about a couple warts? Like what I put on Grendel. Let's give him a wart on his chin. And then one up here on the brow. No. We need a little bit smaller and a lot more intense. So it looks like a wart and not like, again, a flaw in the thing. Just a couple bit there. I'm going to hide the extra bits so I can now start drawing in our erratic seams. No, I don't want light boolean. Light box is what I want. Stitch, there it is. It's going to take a second to load all of these because there's a lot of them. Like 30 of them. There we go. I want to look for something that looks kind of erratic, kind of overdone. And there's the seam 25, which I believe I already have. Okay, now we're going to make it bigger, because we do need to make it bigger. And then we're going to check to see how well it does. Yeah, there we go. But we need to make it a little bit stronger. So we're going to increase that intensity to 16. We're also going to shrink lazy radius down a little bit because we want it to be a bit more erratic. So that's going to be there. No, it still needs to be stronger. Okay. And let's put it here where this tear is. And then another one here. Coming down from here right along this wrinkle. Down the back. One coming from here inside this wrinkle. And then a connecting bit going down like that. Maybe a piece coming from here down to there. Because it's made from patchwork hides. Oh, nope. That one went crazy. And then there we go. just to make it clear. And one last one, we're going to bring it down from here. Hello? Thank you. There. And we have our character. Our Cyclops. A necklace, okay. Now how we're going to handle the necklace is this very simple. Do I have a chin? Okay, we go back to Lightbox. Make it go back to brushes. There's a chain brush I have under insert message. Message. There we go. Okay. IMM chains. And we're just going to choose one of these chains. One that's already pretty thick walled. And we're going to shrink the mouse a bit. And we're going to bring him, start tracing where the chain is going to be. Oh. And then, actually that's too small. Okay, now let's try it. Yeah, that'll do. And then okay, then we're going to kind of pull it along like that. No, I didn't. No! Stupid. There we go. Make sure we pull this out so that it's actually not poking through his skin. Okay, now we tap and under subtool extract split unmasked parts. We go back to this frame. We're going to use the regular move brush for the next bit because we need to kind of I hate it when it does that. Don't draw the little circles. And then move topological. Shrink. Just enough to kind of pull this in. Now we're going back to move. We're going to pull it out of his skin. And the next thing that's going to happen, we're going to move it out of his ear area and kind of pull the whole bit here over a little bit more. And then we go down to deformation, and we start inflating until the gaps between the links don't exist. That might be a little bit too much. So we're going to make this inflate and see what the number is when it gets to that point. Okay, 8's good. It still has a look of a chain. Then, geometry. Divide a couple times. Delete lower. And we have ourselves his necklace, which, because of his thick neck, doesn't really hang right. And it looks actually kind of funny that way. Now the thing is, do we want to keep that necklace? I'm waiting for word from y'all. I honestly don't think it looks right. So, what's y'all's opinion? Speak up. Don't be afraid. I can easily delete it at this point. Yeah. Bye-bye, necky lass. Wait, did I see something? Yeah. So, delete. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, we're first going to turn off the base. This is going to be in two pieces. So, we are going to first merge down the whole thing. Except for the base. Okay. Now, geometry, Dynamesh, 1024, go for it. It should get us, yeah, 1.4 million. Okay. Now we're going to turn off the Dynamesh for this. We're going to duplicate the subtool and move it down below the base. Then what we're going to do, the base is going to get Dynameshed at 512. Dynamesh. Okay, we're going to leave it Dynameshed. We go to our new Cyclops body. We click on this button right here. It looks like a crescent moon. We go to deformation. We're going to inflate it to 2. That's just to give a little bit of space. Then we're going to polygroups, group as Dynamesh sub. When you click on it, nothing seems to happen. But it does, trust me. And then we're going to Dynamesh him. We're going to leave it Dynameshed. We now take the Cyclops base, we merge down, and Control, draw a square in the open area, and it's going to sit there and re-dynamesh. But now, the base has footprints on it. See? Where the Cyclops was, we have footprints in the base that our good Cyclops fits into. Yay! Now, we go to our psych body and it's time to start doing our reductions. So we go to Decimation Master. We don't want him to be too low polygon because as a giant, he's going to have a, it's going to be a little bit more obvious if he's only got a few polygons. We've also got some detail like on the rock and his ropes and the fingernails and that we want to make sure stay. So I'm going to change this custom points to 100 and click it. So this will be 100,000 triangles, 200,000 point, 100,000 points, 200,000 triangles. Oh, computing, please. Oh, forget that. Okay. Just a little bit, and then try it again. Oh, let's move it down. Okay, now. Okay, it's looking like it's going to work this time. It's going to drop him down to running by the disk and oh, yeah. That's the total between it and... That is the revised giant. Now, let me zoom in and see how it looks. Yeah, there we go. Once again, you see how the polygons around the fingernails are much smaller than on the meat of the chest. Okay. Now, we're going to zoom out. We're going to go to the base. The base doesn't need as many triangles. So, we're only going to go to 70,000 for it. So, it's 35,000 points, 70,000 triangles. Our total up top where it says poly count should be at around 270. .107, and there we go. That is our Cyclops. Sculpted in honor and in celebration of the Titans of Legend. So, we're going to export this as, well, it needs to go to Broadcast Miniatures, New Cyclops, and this is simply going to be Cyclops generic base. And we're going to hide it just because. And then this is simply going to be Cyclops generic. Yep. Now, we're back. Yay! ZBrush has the advantage that, well, to put it bluntly, it's got a huge team of literally the best programmers in the field. Blender is good, but it's a community project, which means not everything in there is made to 100% the best possible technique. I know that at least early in Blender's generation. Okay, I need to shade this a little bit more. I didn't get it dark good enough. Either that or there's just... Okay, no, it's just the lighting is making it stand out more. Anyway, ZBrush has also been doing sculpting since the early 2000s. They've got it down. They've got a secret thing that they've done to enable it to handle so many millions of polygons. But yeah, that was our Cyclops. Yes, I will be putting him up on Thingiverse. It will have a link to. It will have links to the finished, to my excuse me, to my Gumroad page, which is where I'm going to be putting the actual files for the Titans of Legend. Once I've finished collecting them all together and I've gotten the paperwork, the list of who gets what, and who to contact to find out which giants they want for those who ordered only one giant. But for now, it's right as I finish. Here comes Carlton. Yeah, little buddy. What do you want? What are you looking at? You want to say hi to them? No. Look at the camera. Don't. Yeah. I use an Anycubic photon for most miniatures, but I also have a CR10. Is a CR10 as one of the early runs of the CR10 as my FDM. Yeah, he wants a Screen Actors Guild card. I swear, my cats are so feral, aren't they? They just don't like people, do they? Photon is resin, yes. It is a DLP resin, which means instead of using a laser to trace each layer, put him down. Instead of using a laser to trace each layer, it flashes them, and for the most part has roughly the same area as a smartphone screen, and then a vertical height of about 155 millimeters. So when I printed my giants, for example, this is Polyphemus. This is much larger than the giant we sculpted tonight. He was printed in multiple parts on an Anycubic photon. Arm here, torso, base. But yeah, this is the size of the base we did, so you can see the other guy's only going to be about that tall. Yep. MMMG, all three of my cats act like that, including the 13-year-old little kitty here. See? There's a reason why her bed is right beside my chair. Actually, I don't split up the models in ZBrush so much. I actually use Mesh Mixer a lot, and there's already a video better than anything I could ever do by Maker's Muse. Yeah, all 3 of my cats are rescues. Aren't you, little baby? Oh, you're just being pouty. Yeah. I stopped and he said, "Hey, you stopped." Yes, I did. Baby girl. She's 13. The 2 black cats, including this one, are 6. Soon to be 7. Crazy cat. And yes, all of my cats are rescues. What are you looking at? Oh. Anyway, let me put you back on the floor. No, little fuzz, you gotta go back down on the floor. There. Velcro Kitty strikes again. No. No. Your bed's right over there. Go to it. I'll let you snuggle in a little bit. I'm trying to finish up on the video. Alright. The thing about Velcro Kitty is that he has such control over his claws. He can hook my shirt without even touching my skin. What's up with you, huh? What's up with you? Crazy kid. Yeah. Anyway. But that was the basic techniques on how I sculpt figures. Now, the giants that I made for the Titans of Legend, I used a different base geometry for. Because among other things, I needed to be able to do more detail with the hands. And my default base geometry only has this, and you can twist them a little bit. Yeah, twist the fingers a little bit. But otherwise, the fingers are all mitteny. The giants for the... They also had pre-made feet. So I didn't have to sculpt the feet as toes every time. Anyway, that was the basics for tonight's show. It is 9:35, so it's only been a little over 2 hours for tonight. Yes, I started early, but go figure. Now, once again, I'd like to announce that as of the end of the Titans of Legend Kickstarter at 1 o'clock Central Time today, it was funded with $106 over. $4,106. So, anyway, I would like to thank you all for joining the show. I did start it early, I know, and there might be 1 or 2 people who are like, "Hey, I missed the start." Sorry. I did kind of warn you earlier on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord, the link's down below. So, yeah, in the Discord, I encourage people to try to sculpt their own figures. I mean, the more the merrier. The more people that are being able to make their own figures, the more attention the hobby in general is going to get as you walk into your Saturday game with your completely custom original miniature that is exactly how you describe your character. And they say, "Where did you find that?" He said, "I made it." So, yeah. The reason I do these shows is to help show how I sculpt, how I do this. I am not a grandmaster. I am I'd say I'm a journeyman. I'm a workman sculptor. I do basic, solid sculpting. Thing to remember, there are things to learn. I've gone over several of these subjects, or at least 3, in some pre-recorded videos about posing, proportion, anatomy. And I'm probably going to come up with other ideas for pre-recorded as time goes on. But no, I would say that I'm not quite better than that simply because I've been doing this for a very long time. Not for printing per se, but for in general 3D sculpting. But I want to see as many people as possible able to make their own figures. So join the Discord. If you have questions, ask. If you have questions, ask in the chat on one of the episodes. I've got, if you go back and watch in the past, I've gone over how I do almost everything. How I made the base geometry, how I make the props, like the, not just the rock he was holding, but things like swords and helmets. How I make my base geometry with the turn of a dial go from a human to an ogre, or a lizard man, or dragonborn, or an elf. I had to create and save them, Christopher, because I do not want to use anybody else's geometry. I made the base geometry for that figure by myself. It's completely 100% original. I made all the morphs myself. In fact, I made several on this show. You never, ever, ever want to use somebody else's geometry if you're going to be doing anything for mass distribution, especially if you're going to be selling it, because you will have problems. Also, on top of that, the pre-existing content in DAZ Studio is not intended for 3D printing. It's not properly set up for 3D printing. Shirts, the sleeves, are one-dimensional. They're just polygons. There's no depth or thickness to them because it's intended to be rendered, make images or animations, not to 3D print. And this is the other black cat. This is Ralph. Cut it out. Hey, Ralph. This is Ralph. He's my other black cat. You can tell because he's got the red collar. Yes, all 3 of my cats are this snuggly. What are you doing? Besides purring, what are you doing? Yeah. This is what happens when you spoil your cats. Don't you think of... No, don't you think about it. What are you doing? What? What? Yep. Hey! Yes, you missed Carlton several times. He appeared at the very start of the show and just about 5 minutes ago. Shoulder kitty. Yes, you also missed almost the entire show, William. We made a Cyclops today. Yes. He also has that remarkable control over his claws where he can hook my shirt without touching my skin. Don't... Hey. Don't start nothing. The biggest figure I've made? Well, I think it's... Do you mean printed or sculpted? Because if you mean printed, well, it's pretty obvious. . And I even devoted several episodes of this broadcast to working on him. I went over, how I made the base geometry, how I give it a basic shape, the actual sculpting for form, to get the anatomy right in ZBrush, how I rigged it in DAZ Studio, how I gave it the full detailing, all the scales, the ripples on the jaw muscles inside, all that, and then how I converted it for, how I pose it to get it ready for actually making it printable. I have not had the opportunity to start printing him, mainly because this is going to sound stupid. I'm waiting to have to finish up my green clear and print him entirely from the crystal clear resin, so that when I prime him to paint him, I don't have one area looking slightly different color than the rest. I haven't done very many mechs. If I did a mech, it probably would be, it'd probably be more likely a Transformer. And I don't mean like that kind of goofy TARDIS becomes Optimus Time. I mean just a Transformer of my own design. As for the largest I've actually printed out and painted, Argus Panoptes, Beowulf for scale. Oh. Whoops. Unless you count terrain, in which case, I've done some larger terrain pieces in the CR10. Argus is actually only 2 pieces. No. Yeah, he's only 2 pieces. The majority of him, well, 3 if you count the base, because on the creatures that large, the base is always separate. But him and his staff, with his left arm pointing as a separate piece, and it still fit in the photon. But most of the time, unless it fits otherwise, I try to do, I try to chop them up. Grendel printed in 1 piece with his base. So, Grendel is actually about the size of that Cyclops we just made. He could print as 1 piece and then the base as a separate piece. The file for the base does not include the little bushes. That's just, the lichen. That's Grendel. You don't have to use him this big. You can shrink him down and use him as a troll. These are some of the giants from the Lost Titans Kickstarter. The Kickstarter that just finished today. I've got some older sculpts that I've done that aren't in scale, that are also kind of decent sized. This is a wyvern I did on my CR10. Yes, I printed this entirely on the CR10. That is a bit of marker bit, not a hole. So yeah, I've done some, the biggest sculpt I've done is actually not in here right now. It's a big old game case book. No, I didn't. I used the same rigged model that I had made for the dice tower, yes. Good night, Citrain. And as it's now 10 till 10, I'm probably going to go ahead and log out. Now what's going to happen? First, I'm going to poke the kitty in the back. And she's going to come over and snuzzle and beg for pettings. What a shock, huh? And then, once she's finished, yeah. I'm going to take my left hand here. I'm going to count. Oh, this. It's the atomizer is a Bonza. It's a Revenger X mod. And the juice is simply blue raspberry from Air Factory. Basic stuff. Anyway. I'm going to count from 5 to 1 to deal with the fact that there's very often lag in YouTube. And so when I get to 1, I'll say something goofy and wiggle my finger. And when I see that on the screen, then I log out. So, let's go ahead and start counting. That's going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It got funded! Yay!